In a bright and bouncy valley, where the hills looked like soft pillows and the houses leaned happily toward one another, there lived a young girl named Jorinda. The valley was known for its playful colors. Paths curved instead of going straight. Fences waved like they were greeting passersby, when flowers bloomed in shades that did not exist anywhere else. Even the sun seemed friendlier there, rising slowly each morning, as if it did not want to rush anyone. Jorinda belonged to this world as if she had been painted into it. She had long golden hair, usually braided with bits of ribbon she collected from village fairs. Nice. And eyes that sparkled with curiosity. She greeted every morning like an old friend, stretching her arms wide and whispering a cheerful thank you to the sky. She believed that kindness always returned, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, but always when needed most. Her cottage sat near the edge of the village, small and round, with a blue door that creaked in a friendly way. Inside, nothing matched, yet everything felt perfect. Cups were different sizes, chairs leaned slightly, and the walls were decorated with drawings she had made as a child. Jorinda liked things that felt alive and imperfect. They reminded her that life did not need to be flawless to be beautiful. Not far from her cottage lived Joringel. He was known throughout the valley for his calm presence and gentle smile. He walked with steady steps, never in a hurry, and carried himself like someone who trusted the path beneath his feet. Joringel fixed broken wheels, mended fences, and helped neighbors without being asked. He said very little, but when he did speak, his words felt thoughtful and warm, like a blanket on a cool evening. Jorinda and Joringel had been part of each other's lives for as long as anyone could remember. As children, they built tiny boats from leaves and raced them down the stream, cheering even when the boat sank. They shared apples, secrets, and long silences that never felt uncomfortable. Over time, their friendship deepened into something quiet and strong. It did not need grand promises. It lived in small moments, like shared smiles and unspoken understanding. Every evening, they met beneath an old willow tree near the river. The tree's branches dipped low, brushing the water as if practicing gentle bows. They sat together watching reflections ripple and clouds drift lazily above. "I think the sky tells stories," Jorinda once said. Joringel smiled. "Then we should listen carefully." Life in the valley moved peacefully, but one morning, a strange feeling drifted through the air. It was not fear, exactly. It was more like uncertainty, soft and quiet, like a question without an answer. Colors seemed slightly less bright. Laughter lingered a moment longer before arriving. The birds paused between songs, as if thinking. The villagers noticed, but no one wanted to worry. They smiled politely and went about their day. Believing that odd feelings passed on their own, Jorinda felt it while arranging flowers outside her cottage. The petals were still colorful, but her heart felt oddly heavy. She placed the flowers down and decided to take a walk to the forest nearby. The forest had always comforted her. It was full of glowing lights, whispering leaves, and playful creatures that liked to hide behind tree trunks as she walked. She hummed softly, though her tune wavered. The deeper she went, the quieter everything became. Then, without warning, a pale, shimmering mist curled around her feet. It felt gentle, like a soft scarf wrapping around her legs. "Well, it's curious," she said, trying to sound brave. The mist rose slowly, swirling around her waist, her shoulders, her face. The forest blurred, colors melting together. Jorinda felt light, as if the ground had forgotten to hold her tightly. When the mist finally faded, she was no longer in the forest. She stood in a distant place where the air shimmered and the ground glowed faintly beneath her feet. Everything was peaceful, yet strangely empty. Time felt slower, stretched thin like honey. Jorinda felt a tight ache in her chest. She was not hurt, but she was far from home. "Hello?" she called. Her voice echoed softly, returning to her like a gentle reminder that she was alone. Back in the valley, the sun dipped low, and Joringel waited beneath the willow tree. He watched the river, smiling faintly at passing ripples. Minutes passed, then more. The sky darkened. Jorinda did not come. Concern settled into his chest. He stood, calling her name, his voice calm but worried. He searched familiar paths, checked the forest edge, and asked villagers if they had seen her. Lanterns were lit. People joined him, their faces filled with concern. They searched until the moon hung high and round in the sky. But Jorinda was nowhere to be found. The next morning, whispers spread through the valley like drifting leaves. Some said the valley's magic was changing. Others said it was best not to think too much about strange things. A few, with kind but tired eyes, told Joringel that sometimes life took unexpected turns. And holding on too tightly only caused pain, Joringel listened quietly. Their words reached his ears, but not his heart. Inside him, worry tried to grow, but something steadier stood in its way. Faith. Every evening, Joringel returned to the willow tree. He spoke softly to the river, the stars, the wind. "I don't know where you are," he said gently, "but I know who you are." Far away, in the quiet, shimmering place, Jorinda felt lonely for the first time. Days passed slowly. The place was calm, almost kind, but it felt unfinished. Sometimes she laughed softly at herself, trying to stay cheerful. Other times, doubt crept in quietly, asking questions she did not want to answer. Then she remembered Joringel, his patience, his steady voice, the way he believed without needing proof. "I am not forgotten," she whispered. "Love remembers." Back in the valley, seasons shifted. Leaves changed color. The air grew cooler. Joringel continued helping others, fixing what was broken, comforting those who worried. But every night he returned to the willow tree, carrying hope like a small, glowing lantern inside his chest. One morning, as dawn painted the valley in soft gold, Joringel felt a calm certainty settle in his heart. Waiting was no longer enough. Faith was not meant to stay still. He packed lightly, looked back at the valley he loved, and faced the unknown beyond the forest. "I will find you," he said quietly, and somewhere far away. Jorinda felt warmth bloom in her heart like a promise waking up. The journey had not yet begun, but love had already taken its first step. Beyond the forest and over the rolling hills, Joringel's journey unfolded like a painted storybook page. The path curled and looped, sometimes disappearing only to reappear when he trusted his steps. Flowers popped up where he least expected them, stretching and yawning as he passed. And stones hopped politely out of his way as if they knew he was walking with purpose. Joringel smiled at these small signs. They felt like encouragement, gentle nods from the world itself. He walked with a light pack and a full heart. At times, doubt tiptoed beside him, asking quiet questions. What if he was too late? What if love was not enough? Each time he breathed in and remembered Jorinda's laughter and the way she believed in kindness without needing proof. That memory steadied him like a compass. As he traveled, he met curious creatures who spoke in riddles and jokes. A round blue hedgehog rolled beside him for a while, telling stories about clouds that got lost. A pair of chatty birds argued about directions, then agreed to guide him anyway. Joringel listened, laughed softly, and thanked them all. He learned that the world responded kindly when greeted with patience. One evening, as the sky turned soft lavender, Joringel reached a quiet clearing where the air shimmered like it was holding a secret. The ground glowed faintly, just as Jorinda had seen in the place where she waited. Joringel felt a pull in his chest, not painful, but certain. "This feels close," he whispered. He stepped forward, trusting the feeling. At the same moment, far away in the gentle, paused world, Jorinda noticed a change. The air felt warmer. The light danced a little brighter. She had spent her days exploring the calm place, finding small wonders to keep her spirit lifted. She talked to floating lights, named the quiet breezes, and told herself stories before resting. Still, her heart had waited for something more. That evening she felt it, a soft tug like a familiar song drifting in from a distance. "Joringel," she whispered, not with sadness, but with hope. The space around her shimmered, forming a path of glowing steps that had not been there before. Jorinda hesitated only a moment, then smiled. Faith, she had learned, often looked like taking a step before knowing where it led. She followed the path. Joringel felt the clearing brighten as he walked deeper into the glow. The air sparkled, colors swirling gently like friendly fireworks. He felt nervous and calm at the same time, his heart beating with excitement he could barely contain. Then he saw her. Jorinda stood at the edge of the glowing space, her golden braid catching the light, her eyes wide and shining. For a moment, neither of them moved. The world seemed to hold its breath. "Is it really you?" Jorinda asked softly. Joringel nodded, his voice warm and steady. "I told the stars I would find you." They stepped toward each other, and the space between them melted away like mist in the sun. When they finally embraced, it was gentle and sure, like coming home after a long journey. No words were needed. Their hearts spoke clearly enough. The glowing place responded to their reunion. Colors deepened. The air hummed happily. The floating lights danced in joyful circles, as if celebrating with them. "I was afraid," Jorinda admitted quietly. "But I never stopped believing." Joringel smiled. "Neither did I." The space around them shifted, opening like a doorway made of light. Together, hand in hand, they stepped through. They emerged at the edge of the familiar forest. The trees leaned closer, leaves rustling in friendly greetings. Fireflies flickered excitedly, lighting the path back home. The forest felt brighter than before, as if relieved as they walked back toward the valley. The world seemed to awaken. Colors returned fully. The breeze laughed. The birds burst into song, louder and happier than ever. When they reached the village, people gathered, eyes wide with surprise and joy. Smiles spread like sunshine. Some laughed. Some wiped happy tears. The valley felt whole again. The old willow tree dipped its branches low, as if bowing. Life did not suddenly become perfect. Days still had challenges, and questions still appeared. But something had changed. The valley remembered what it meant to believe. Jorinda and Joringel returned to their gentle routines. But now, with a deeper understanding, love, they learned, was not about never being separated. It was about trusting the bond even when distance tried to stretch it thin. Faith was not about knowing every answer. It was about walking forward anyway in the evenings. They sat beneath the willow tree once more, watching the river ripple with familiar music. Sometimes they laughed about the strange creatures Joringel met. Sometimes they sat quietly, holding hands, grateful for the calm. Children gathered to hear their story, eyes wide with wonder. Jorinda told it with warmth and humor, adding playful details. Joringel listened, smiling, knowing that the true magic was not in the glowing paths or shimmering places, but in the choice to believe. And so, in a colorful valley where hills looked like pillows and love walked hand in hand with faith, the story of Jorinda and Joringel lived on. Not as a tale of fear or loss, but as a gentle reminder that even when the world feels uncertain, hearts that trust each other can always find their way back home.